Good afternoon, Primerica! Wow, this is so exciting. I want to thank God. I want to thank Primerica and the staff here. I want to thank the African American Leadership Council. I want to thank my incredible uplines, John Lennon and Treka McMillan. And I want to thank Team Invincible. Without you, we would not be here. And I want to thank this handsome young man standing behind me, my husband, Chris Durham. So what I'm going to do is go through this very quick so I can make sure that Chris gets his shine. My name is Michele Durham, National Sales Director, partner out of Sugar Land, Texas, right outside of Houston, and I'm excited to be here. So let's get into it, right? Let's talk about the African American leadership, and it has provided an incredible platform for Chris and I to grow, not only as a couple, but as a team, as a hierarchy, as a business. I don't think we could have done it without the leadership there, and it really has helped model our partnership. We heard that teamwork is the essence of life. But as we know, it can be difficult. It can be challenging. So you need someone by your side that can help elevate you, that can help lead you, that can help teach you. And the African American leadership has been there for Chris and I. We got started in this business at 22 years old, right out of college. We were dating, and we knew nothing about business. But what I could do was point to all of my colleagues in here and say, that's what I want my life to look like. And they provided that lifestyle for us. So we're just so grateful for the leadership, right? And the the ALC, they provide the national convention. They do regional meetings. They just had a securities boot camp here, right? Then they have an incredible mentorship program that helps everyone come in and go as far and as big as you want to go. And so with that, it has helped us to create something in our business that I like to call partnership proof, right? Because it's not, in American business, you don't find partners that work together. You don't find husbands and wives that work together and work together well. And Primerica, through the African American Leadership Council, has really helped Chris and I to model our lives and our family after that. So, number one, the first thing that I would like to, my first point is have a schedule, right? You come in Primerica and you think, man, I can just do what I want, right? And I call it having a life of confetti. You throw it up and you catch whatever happens, and that's how you run your life. You have to be intentional. If you have a target, you have to be disciplined. You have to be diligent about the direction that you're going in to make sure you hit that target. If not, you'll be just kind of distracted. You'll be drifting through life. So Chris and I operate on a very, very strict schedule. And throughout the day, the litmus test is for us to get together, grab a cup of coffee, sit for lunch, maybe a phone call, a FaceTime, and say, hey, where are you right now with your schedule? Where are you today? So that we can make sure we're on the same page going in the right direction. Does that make sense? Right. So number two, I think the biggest thing that has helped Chris and I in our career here and as a marriage is self-improvement, right? We read, and we read together, and our partnerships read together. We've read approximately 53 books in the last 4 years collectively as a hierarchy. And it's not a book club, it is an insightful club. It is to make sure you know what you're thinking about. To think about what you're thinking about is so important here because people are always feeding you stuff. And is it helping you grow or is it helping you stay stagnant? And so when we're having a conversation and I know something is right or he knows something is right, it doesn't come from me, it comes from an author that we read, and that gives us credibility with each other. And it helps us to be creative, it helps us to be fresh, it helps us to make sure that our team knows that it is so important to make sure you get your thinking right. I cannot stress that enough because you come in here with a set of standards, right, that you live by. But you have to up those standards. How do you do that? You have to create leverage, and that's what we do. We create leverage between the two of us, which helps me go to point number three, which is your team. Everybody's on a team. You're on the Primerica team. You're on the AALC team, the HALC, the Women in Primerica team. You're on a team. But the most important team in your life is your home team. And if you don't get that right, it's going to show later on. And so we work very, very hard. We are very diligent about the home team. We call it staying tight and right, right? It may not look like it for everybody else, but what we do at our home team to make sure our children are thriving, to make sure that we're great examples. See, children see what you do, not what you say, right? And that's your team. And our leverage, Chris and our leverage is the way we flow. It's the respect we have for one another. It's how he treats me. It's how I treat him, because you have partnerships coming here and they're looking for something to make sure that they made the right decision. And if we can't be that example, we don't have any legs to stand on. So we make sure without a shadow of a doubt that our home team is intact so that we can be a part of growing the ALC, so we can grow Primerica to 150,000 licenses, so we can grow our empire to MDE and SNSD and Circle of Champions, right? So we are so excited to be in the environment that can help foster that and help create that, because we know it's possible. I have all these examples. I can't name anybody because I'll leave somebody off, but we are just so thankful, because when we came in here as 2 college students, we didn't know anything about anything. And here we are, national sales directors, $700,000 earners with 8 RVPs. I mean, that just doesn't happen for a girl like me. It doesn't, right? But Primerica, the ALC, and your team is no respecter of person. So go out here, do it big, self-improve, get better. I'm telling you, the world is out here waiting for us to take over. You ready to take over? All right. So speaking of taking over, I'm going to turn this over. This is how I introduce my husband in the morning. The incredible, the incomparable coach of all coaches, leader of all leaders. We know him as Coach. His solution number is BBC85, so the world knows him as Big Bad Chris 85. Take it away.
Love you. Y'all excited? Are y'all excited? Y'all ain't excited. Y'all ain't excited. Okay, quick shout outs. Shout out to my uplines, John and the late Angela Lennon, and the rest of the Lennon hierarchy, and all the RVPs in our team, Broderick and Demetria Lemon, Shantez and Asia Davis, Deanna Daniels, Jamie and Ashley Artis, Pam DeWhite Bradford, Marcus and Regina Castile, LaRonda and Phil Clay, and Erica Alexander. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. And also our base shop, we got our next RVPs coming out, Maya and Tyrese Raphael, and Lorenzo and Ari Dargan. Proud of you guys. So let me get right into promoting the AALC conference next year. If it had not been for that conference, I wouldn't be on the stage talking to you today. A few things that I learned in my career going to these meetings. The first one, I learned about a mindset. And in your mindset, you got to cultivate your mindset. Like, I came in the business, like when Renee introduced me, she said, we started the business in Greensboro. And I'm actually from Enfield, North Carolina, and I went to North Carolina A&T State University, 1601 East Market Street in Greensboro, North Carolina, 27411. And that's how I got to Greensboro, but I actually started off in Enfield, North Carolina, where I was around a lot of love and no money. Can anybody relate to that? Anybody know what I'm talking about? We had plenty of love and no money. And you pick up a whole bunch of bad habits in a culture where nobody has any money. And so I had to learn to think differently. I got around my coach, John Lennon. I joined the business, and Mr. Lennon always talking about your vision. I'm like, vision? What are you talking about, vision? I thought we were selling insurance. Like, what are you talking about? So he always talking about vision and where we're going and going to meetings and going to fast start schools. We have a fast start school like every 90 days. Like, how many fast starts I got to get off to? I just got off to a fast start, and I guess another fast start. And so I had to learn about, growing and cultivating how I think. So coming to these meetings, somewhere along the line, I heard the phrase that formal education will pay your living, but self-education will pay your fortune. And so I learned about self-education. Number 2 is I learned that to be successful is not just your mindset, it's the mindset of your organization. It's not just important for you to think about growing and where you're going and having a vision, have goals. The people on your team have to have a vision. You got to read those books together. You got to study together. That's because I've been reading and studying by myself for years. Thank God for Michele, and she started reading with me. We grew. Then the other people on our team started reading together. They started reading. Our partnership started reading together. Everybody started growing. So it was the collective. It was our mindset of our organization. And then number 3, reason why you got to be at this conference is because you want to get around people that's doing it bigger and faster than you're doing it. You draw strength from people that are doing it at a higher level. And just like in business and in life, if you get around people, I've never met anyone that was more successful than I am, that said, Chris, you're doing too much. You don't have to go to that meeting. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. But I've met plenty of people that's less successful than I am that says, Chris, you're doing too much. Why you got to do all that? You better keep God first. Well, I thought I was keeping God first. Now all of a sudden I must not be according to you. So what happens, you got to be around people that's doing it bigger. The same way in this business. If you get around people that are doing it, have a bigger team than you have, that's more successful than you are, they're going to tell you all the reasons why you need to go to the conference. But if you get all around your little local prime Americans, right, none of the people that can't say it right, they still calling it prime America, they're going to tell you they ain't even thinking about going to the conference. They don't even know when the conference is. So you got to get around people that's doing it at a higher level because they're always going to tell you what you need to do to go in the right direction. Next, let's talk about showing up. There's 3 times you need to make sure that you're at this meeting. The first one is if it's totally illogical for you to go to this meeting. I mean, if you can't think of a logical reason for you to go to another meeting, that's the meeting you need to go to. I've been doing this a few minutes, and I'm telling you, it has been plenty of meetings that absolutely, positively, no one on the outside looking at my business, looking at the size of my team, looking at our activity, looking at our income would say, Chris, you need to go to this meeting. Nobody would. If that's the situation you're in, that's when you need to go. Number 2, you need to go if it's inconvenient. I mean, if you got a family function, if somebody's getting married, somebody doing something, it's always going to be somebody getting married, somebody doing something. Listen, get by them a gift, man. They ain't going nowhere. Look, they still going to be married when you get home from the meeting. If they sick, I ain't go to medical school. I can't, nothing I can do for them. So you got to be at the meeting. If it's inconvenient, that's the one you need to go to. And number 3, this is the most important one. If you find yourself in a place where you can't afford to go to the meeting, whoo, God bless America. That's when you definitely need to be at the meeting. If you done got here this far and you can't afford to go, under no circumstances can you afford not to go. And the last point, let's talk about environment. So when you get around the right environment, other leaders are going to be there talking about where we're going, how to do it, how to build your team, what you need to do to be successful, how to keep your thinking on track. Because when you have your own local team in your office, you can't be all things to everybody. People come in the business and they have baggage. Can I get an amen? Right. People come in your business and they have blind spots. Can I get an amen? So they come in, they don't even know what's wrong with them. So look, how you going to diagnose it? So what you do is you get them in the room and you let Ivan Earl talk to them. And you let Mike Evans talk to him. And you let Joe Ward talk to him. You let Chris H. Ong talk to him. You let all these other leaders talk to him. And those people pour into him, and it's like a puzzle. Those pieces they're thinking can come together, and those people can be the winners on your team. Number 2, thoughts that are emotionalized are magnetized. You're going to get in this meeting, you're going to get around some people that's passionate. You might be in an office right now, and everybody just like blah, blah, blah. Like they ain't going nowhere. Listen, you got to get around some people that's passionate about it, that they know they're here to change their life. This is their chance. This is their shot. You got to get around people that's got that energy, and it's going to rub off on you. And my last point, teammates, family, you only really need one thing to work. You can try all different ways. You can do this, you can do that. You can opt first, recruit first, appointment first, KT first, interview, whatever you listen. I don't know what it's going to be, but look, you only need one thing to work. One thing can change your whole life. We started in the business. I got my license February 95. We became RVPs our 6th year. We got our ring our 7th year. It was 10 years later before we went to 200,000. It was 5 more years before we went to 300,000. Teammates, for those of you who count slow, that's 22 years to get to 300,000. But what if I quit? What if I quit? And then 2 years later, we went to 400, 500, 600, 700, and we'll be at $1 million by the time we get to the convention. Teammates, you don't need but one thing to work, and I hope you get to this conference so you can learn what it is. I love you. See you at the top.